Hey everyone, Alpha here. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be taking a look at some of the smaller private servers. Just because it's small, doesn't mean it can't be fun. Just ask your girlfriend. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Last WoW. Last WoW is a 2.4.3 Burning Crusade private server. When you first start out, you're going to notice the quest giver that looks just a little bit out of place. Talking to this quest giver, you will receive 10 gold, which is incredibly helpful for a new player just starting out. You will also receive a turtle mount, which basically provides no benefit other than a small bit of humor. This server also has a really interesting boost rate. You will receive a 15 times experience boost for killing mobs, 20 times for quests, 15 times for reputation, 2 times for honor, 2 times arena points, and even an 18 times drop rate, which at first seems like a really good idea because of the size of the server. In fact, it means you should, at least in theory, be able to keep your gear up to a respectable level and not have to level in grays. The downside, though, is you will find yourself filling up your bags very fast, sometimes in as little as 5 to 10 mobs, which leaves you running to the nearest vendors or deleting grays out of your bags constantly. Over time, this becomes very tedious to say the least. On the bright side, though, I found it very easy to make gold and never had a hard time purchasing my talents. Travel is also convenient, as every major city will have portals to the other major cities, making travel from Darnassus, Stormwind, Ironforge, and Exodar very easy. The leveling experience was like being tortured. I felt like I was in prison or possibly being forced to watch a Tyler Perry movie.
Oh my lord! What are we gonna do?
Aw, damn it.
I had really big issues with mobs evading out or resetting. Rare spawns would aggro from like 60 yards away. Former elite mobs aren't scaled correctly either, such as the mobs on the border of Wetlands and Arathi Basin. It was all I could do to kill these mobs by myself. Hunter pet threat is also really bad. Maybe somebody can correct me, because it has been years since I've leveled a hunter, but leveling his beast mastery, I never remembered having this much of an issue. Even letting my pet get the mob down to 75%, I was still able to pull threat off within a couple of shots. Ability scripting is really bad as well. I was actually able to cast Hunter's Mark on myself, and stack it multiple times. Pet abilities are also really broken. I was able to cast Men Pet on my dead bear. In order to res a dead pet, you first need to summon it and then resurrect it, which again is just tedious as hell. Speaking of resurrecting, I died when I was trying to tame this rare spawn, and of all places it rezzed me in Syrian Gorge, way out of my element. Fortunately for me, being a dwarf, I had the flight path to Ironforge unlocked already, and I was able to simply hop on the Griffin and fly back. But this would have been a really big issue if my Hearthstone had been on cooldown, or I didn't have the flight path, I'd have been a human or something like that. It would have taken me forever to get back. Oh, and speaking of fun runs, how about the time that the tram disappeared on me? I was literally halfway between Ironforge and Stormwind, and it literally just fell out from underneath me and disappeared, literally leaving me running down this hallway. It seriously took me over 6 minutes to get back. I know I only thought about recording the last couple minutes, but trust me, this run really sucked. And this was one of those times that my Hearthstone was on cooldown. Since this is a low pop server, as you can guess, the auction house is pretty bare. And this is really amplified by the fact that it's an 18x loot server. This basically means that people don't waste their time throwing anything on the auction house and pretty much just simply vendor everything that drops. Anything that you do find on the auction house is going to be priced astronomically high. I saw epics for easily 10 to 100,000 gold, which gold is not super hard to come by on this server, but it's still anything that might be of use for you is kind of out of your reach. This becomes a really big issue when you run into a problem like I did. Unfortunately, crossbows do not level on this server. I don't know if it's simply the hunter, I don't know if it's a bug with the crossbows or what it is, but I could not get mine to level. It is the only weapon I tried that I couldn't get to level, but after upgrading for the bow in Hellfire Peninsula, it left me in a bad position. I had vendored my level 46 bow that I had been leveling with, as I had already got an upgrade. There was no point in keeping it. Once I realized that I couldn't hit anything with my crossbow, I tried to run and go back and buy it. Unfortunately, I'd already logged out, which basically reset my vendor list. So, I tried desperately running around, checking the auction house, checking random vendors, and could not find a bow. I literally had to go through and level as a melee hunter for about 2 levels until fortunately a gray dropped for me in Zangarmarsh, and I was able to continue leveling from there. Yeah, it sucked. I question the legitimacy of raiding since the only 2 raids I saw was Black Temple and Zolomon, and both times the raid composition was interesting to say the least, such as this one composed of nothing but shamans and warlocks. Who's tanking? PvP was pretty bad also. As you can see in the world PvP events, such as the one here in Hellfire Peninsula and the one in Zangarmarsh, do not function correctly. I'm assuming also the one in Terakar Forest doesn't work either, since neither of these 2 work. Battlegrounds are pretty bad also, as you can only queue for 1 battleground at a time. Once inside, you find yourself in your typical 5-on-15 battle, so one side's automatically steamroll the other. And PvE isn't a whole lot better. My experience was dungeon scripting is really bad, half the mobs stand around, and a lot of the bosses don't even do their full abilities. According to the website, about 6 months ago, there was a major overhaul done to the server, which really makes me question what was actually done. If this is the improved server, how bad was it before? What was actually done? Unfortunately, that information kind of trails off and is hard to find. Another thing that I found frustrating on this server was I immediately joined world chat like I do on most of these private servers, and nobody was talking. Occasionally somebody would join, say hi, and then go offline a few minutes later, but typically it was a ghost town. It wasn't until about day 2 that I figured out this server doesn't actually use world chat. It uses global chat. That's the channel, global, which is kind of confusing. Overall, Last WoW really needs some improvements before it can be considered decent. It does offer some novel concepts, but they are poorly implemented. There are much better scripted servers out there. The latency is okay, but not great, and I kept getting disconnected quite frequently, and it took forever to be able to log back in. Sorry this review is a little bit short, but there just really wasn't much to talk about on the server. I hope you guys found it useful regardless. Take it easy. Alpha out.